What if everything you knew about money was a lie? That the dollars in your wallet right now were nothing more than debt. Now, most people picture money and currency as interchangeable. But the truth is that while they share many of the same properties, such as a unit of account, portable, durable, a medium of exchange, and so on, there is one important difference between the two: a store of value. True money retains its value over time, whereas currency always loses it. And not only that, today I'm going to show you how all currency is actually debt. And you might be thinking to yourself, how is that possible? Currency is currency and debt is debt. But let me explain. What gives the dollars in your wallet any real value? Is a $100 bill really that different from a $1 bill when you examine their properties? Or are they just pieces of paper with printed numbers, no different from monopoly money? The only reason that a store will accept your $100 bill as money is because we all as a society have an unspoken agreement that it's worth something. The $100 bill itself has no intrinsic value. It's not backed by any tangible asset. Therefore, all it has is a perceived value. But it wasn't always this way. When US dollars were first introduced, they were exchangeable for physical, tangible gold, an IOU, a debt that the bank held where you were the creditor. Think about that for a second. Someone paid you in US dollars, an IOU that was honored by the bank in exchange for physical, tangible gold, real money. Of course, this limited the bank's abilities to create credit, which hurt their profit because they had to be honest about how much gold they were holding compared to the amount of IOUs in circulation, US dollars in circulation, which is why we ended the gold standard, ended dollar convertibility to gold, and created an entire system, a complex system built on liabilities backed by no tangible assets or real money, which is the crux of the entire currency system being built on debt. Now, stay with me here. You, the depositor, the individual, you hold your cash in a bank today. You view that cash as an asset, something that you own and can use, but the bank probably has already used that elsewhere, and to them, this now becomes a liability because they are obligated to pay you your cash back upon your request. These banks then hold their reserves at the central bank, the Federal Reserve. But the central bank's assets aren't the reserves. Their assets are actually government bonds, which are government debt. And the government pays this debt back through more borrowing or taxation, which leads to the taxpayer, you, the individual, now responsible for paying taxes to cover the government's debt. And so on and so forth, this cycle goes, a never-ending cycle of IOUs that is constantly growing and expanding with no tangible assets behind any of it. It's a mirage of a system that we all agreed to, consciously or not. And since it's all just made up debt, it can be easily manipulated, which is something we have seen time and time again. The biggest problem with fiat currency is that it can be devalued like that. All you need to do is create additional units of said currency, often through the creation of more debt, and suddenly you have a currency that is worth less. Now, in theory, this process of more currency creation is stimulating because you have more credit, you have more spending, so it's an expansionary moment for the economy. But that can't last forever. Eventually, the debt needs to be repaid. Eventually, it becomes clear that the stimulus is no longer working and each unit of currency is worth less. We as a society have confused real wealth with financial wealth. Let me explain. If you think about income, over the last couple of decades, on average, it's gone up. I know that's not the case for everyone, but on average, it's gone up. Yet more people than ever feel as though they can afford less, not more. So where is the disconnect? Well, financial wealth is just an illusion. Here's an example of financial wealth. Let's say there's a coffee shop that uses loyalty points every time you buy a cup of coffee. Now, you've been racking up these points, you're forgoing countless opportunities to get a cup of coffee with your loyalty points because you're saving up for a coffee maker that costs 200 loyalty points. But right as you're about to make that purchase, right as you're closing in on 200, the coffee shop suddenly starts tripling the amount of loyalty points it's giving its customers for every purchase. So when you go to buy the coffee maker, suddenly it's 5,000 points. Let me ask you, did the coffee maker get any better, inherently better, or is it the same coffee maker that it was a week ago? The answer is clear. It's the same coffee maker. It's not that the value of the coffee maker went up. It's that the value of the loyalty points went down. Because of this, the person who has a ton more loyalty points feels like they have financial wealth, but what they don't have is real wealth. The next time you're in a grocery store looking at the price of something that's gone up, I want you to ask yourself, is it that prices are going up, or is it that the value of my dollar is worth less? And the answer isn't both. The item you're trying to buy at the grocery store hasn't changed in value. It's that the currency you're using to purchase it with has lost its value. Many Americans today, rightfully so, are upset about the cost of their bills, cost of groceries, the cost to buy a house, and it's because the underlying asset hasn't changed. It's just that they're trying to purchase it in a declining currency. Now, if you're new to these concepts, you might be sitting here thinking, I get it, I see it, so what do we do about it? And there's one more thing I have to throw at you. Let me ask you this. Why do you think that the government's inflation target is 2%? And I mean 2% even when inflation isn't rising. That's just the standard inflation target. Is it because inflation, the erosion of your currency, is actually positive for governments? Inflation helps governments. It helps them stimulate the economy. It reduces the burden of their debt. It allows them to be more flexible with their spending. There are a lot of pros, even though it is chipping away at your wealth. It is punishing savers. It is positive for governments. There is a reason that they understand all of this, yet this process continues to happen. The truth is, most Americans who are able to keep up with this theft are either able to outrun it, which is still terrible because they're still losing, or they have taken the necessary steps to protect themselves outside of the system. A successful long-term economy is built on real assets, real money, not fiat currency, because eventually, if you look at history, all fiat currencies eventually come to an end. It's because it's not sustainable. And the end of a currency life cycle, you typically know it's close because you start to see hyperinflation, where the currency value is dropping so significantly that price rises are reflected as a result of that, sometimes doubling every 24 hours. And while this might sound impossible, the truth is there are no rules. We've already established that there's no inherent value of the US dollar. It's just a perceived value that you and I don't control. They have all the power. They can do whatever they want. As more people wake up to this, or as I like to say, have their light bulb moment when they realize what's really going on, that's why you're seeing more people flocking outside of the system to cryptocurrency or silver or gold, things that are not dollar denominated, because they understand that the system is not set up with you in mind. Remember at the beginning of this video, I said that there was one key difference between currency and money: a store of value. Now, we've already proven, and you already are living it firsthand, that the US dollar, a currency, is losing its value. It's not a true store of value. And looking throughout history, because here at ITM, we study currency life cycles, and there have been tons of fiat currencies that have collapsed. They never survive long term. Every time a fiat currency has collapsed, they had to reset against something that had a true store of value. And what is that something? Gold. Physical, tangible gold. Why? Because it is finite. There's only so much of it, meaning you cannot print more of it. You cannot devalue it in the same way you can as currency. There will always be a safe store of value in gold. They don't want you to know this. They don't want you to understand this, but it's all there if you are paying attention. And if this opened your eyes today and you want to understand how you can take this education and put it into action, you can talk to a member of our team at the number below. We also have a ton of educational videos on our channel with more coming. So if you're not already, be sure to subscribe. And as always, I so appreciate you being here. I'm Taylor Kenny with ITM Trading, your trusted source for all things gold, silver, and lifelong wealth protection. Until next time.